The current US-Iran standoff represents one of the most serious military confrontations in decades, and the deployment of two of America's most advanced military assets, the F-22 Raptor fighter jet and the USS Gerald R. aircraft carrier, has drastically changed the balance of power in the region. On the surface, it appears to be a simple show of force, but strategically, this combination is designed to limit Iran's options, constrain its freedom of action, and establish a dominant U.S. posture. Some analysts have even described it as a trap for Tehran, not in a cinematic sense, but as a carefully constructed military and psychological pressure point. The F-22 Raptor is arguably the most advanced air superiority fighter ever built. Its combination of stealth capabilities, high speed, super maneuverability, and long-range strike capability allows it to penetrate advanced air defenses with minimal detection. Unlike older fighter jets, the F-22 can fly into highly contested airspace, engage enemy aircraft, and deliver precision strikes on ground targets, while remaining virtually invisible to radar. By deploying F-22s into the region, the U.S. has gained a decisive advantage in air dominance, making it extremely difficult for Iran to launch any missile or drone operation without immediate risk of interception. Alongside the F-22s, the USS Gerald R. Ford CVN-78 serves as a floating airbase capable of projecting power over hundreds of miles. The Ford is the most advanced aircraft carrier in the world, featuring the electromagnetic aircraft launch system, EMAL's advanced weapons elevators, and the capacity to support over 75 aircraft, including F-35Bs, electronic warfare planes, and surveillance aircraft. Its presence in the Eastern Mediterranean and Persian Gulf region provides the U.S. with 24/7 strike capability, rapid deployment options, and a visible demonstration of overwhelming naval power. Together, the F-22s and the Ford create a multi-layered military posture that surrounds and limits Iranian options, which is why analysts describe it as a strategic trap. The reason this posture is so effective is that it targets Iran's vulnerabilities. Iran's military relies heavily on missile systems, drones, and naval assets concentrated near the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. While these systems are formidable in certain circumstances, they are vulnerable to precision strikes from both carrier-based aircraft and long-range fighters like the F-22. By positioning these assets strategically, the U.S. effectively controls the airspace and monitors maritime traffic, creating a scenario where any Iranian escalation could trigger a rapid and overwhelming American response. This setup also serves a psychological purpose. The knowledge that elite F-22s are patrolling the skies backed by the strike capability of the Ford forces Iran to calculate every move with extreme caution. It creates a diplomatic and operational pressure cooker. Tehran cannot act aggressively without risking severe losses, yet it cannot retreat without appearing weak to regional allies or domestic audiences. This squeeze is exactly what makes the combination of the F-22 and the Gerald R. Ford a strategic trap. It restricts Iran's maneuverability in both physical and political space. The timing of this deployment is equally critical. The U.S. aircraft carrier and fighter jet buildup coincides with stalled nuclear negotiations, heightened tensions in Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, and repeated Iranian threats to regional shipping lanes. By sending such a high-profile combination of assets into the region, the U.S. signals that military readiness is just as important as diplomacy. It is an unmistakable warning that any escalation on Iran's part could be met immediately with overwhelming force. This strategy also leverages modern naval and air coordination. F-22s can operate from land bases or forward-deployed airstrips, while carrier-based aircraft from the Gerald R. Ford provide continuous coverage over the Persian Gulf and surrounding regions. In practice, this means that any Iranian missile launch, drone attack, or naval maneuver could be intercepted or destroyed before reaching its intended target. It's a 360-degree coverage system. The F-22s dominate the skies. The carrier provides both offensive and defensive air power, and supporting destroyers and cruisers offer missile defense and surveillance. This layered approach drastically reduces the likelihood that Iran could successfully strike us or allied forces without facing immediate counteraction. Iran's options are further constrained by geography and logistics. The Strait of Hormuz, while narrow and strategically important, is now closely monitored by U.S. naval assets. Any attempt to disrupt shipping lanes or engage in aggressive maneuvers would likely result in immediate strikes from carrier-based aircraft. In addition, Iran's missile infrastructure is concentrated near population centers, meaning any retaliatory response carries the risk of high civilian and military casualties, which further limits Iran's decision-making freedom. In addition to the military and strategic considerations, there is a psychological and signaling element to the F-22 and Gerald R Ford deployment. The U.S. is demonstrating to both allies and adversaries that it can deploy technologically superior forces rapidly and maintain them in theater for extended periods. This sends a signal not only to Iran but to other regional powers that the U.S. is prepared to enforce international norms and defend global interests, whether in energy security, maritime trade, or regional stability. While the term trap sounds aggressive, it's important to understand that this is not a prelude to immediate conflict. It is a form of strategic containment. The U.S. is showing Iran that its choices are constrained, that any escalation comes at a significant cost, and that American military capabilities can respond faster than Iran can effectively act. In essence, the F-22s and the Gerald R. Ford create a situation where Iran must think twice before acting, because any aggressive move could trigger immediate and overwhelming retaliation. This posture also supports ongoing diplomatic efforts. While the U.S. maintains an overwhelming military advantage, it also wants to encourage Iran back to the negotiating table. The presence of such high-end assets reminds Iran that military options are costly and risky, creating leverage for U.S. negotiators. In other words, the trap functions both militarily and diplomatically, shaping Iran's behavior through a combination of overwhelming power and strategic signaling. In conclusion, the deployment of F-22 Raptors and the USS Gerald R. Ford to the Middle East is far more than a simple military maneuver. It represents a sophisticated strategy designed to constrain Iran, protect U.S. interests, deter escalation, and maintain regional stability. While the term trap is often used casually, in this case it accurately describes the strategic posture. Iran is left with limited options, facing a U.S. military presence that dominates both the skies and the seas. The combination of advanced stealth fighters, a next-generation aircraft carrier, and supporting naval assets creates a formidable deterrent, signaling that any aggressive action by Iran would carry immediate and severe consequences. This high-stakes positioning highlights the modern reality of military strategy, where deterrence, precision, and psychological pressure work together to shape the decisions of a potential adversary.